So it's another day, and it's another topic that, of course, I'm late to talking about because I was just busy, but it's something that I still want to talk about because it's actually pretty important. And of course, with me being a music artist has captured my attention, and it was something that I felt was very intriguing to talk about because honestly, it's kind of there's a load of bullshit spread all around these statements. And of course, you already read the title of this video. I'm talking about the TikTok Universal Music Group, the whole pulling their music because they feel like TikTok is trying to, I guess, bamboozle them and not offer them a fair value, which I wouldn't be surprised if true. But I wanted to go over all of it and talk about it and just give my own thoughts and opinions as someone who is a music artist themselves and what I personally think about this situation and how it's all playing out. So for those that are wondering, the reason why this is such a big deal is because Universal Music Group is one of the biggest record labels, if not the biggest, and they have pretty much a stranglehold on pretty much all your favorite artists, all the favorite TikToks that you see on there that have dance trends, people doing this dance, people doing this dance, this trend. Yeah, they pretty much own all those artists, all those songs, everything related to it. More than likely is Universal Music Group or it's Warner Bros. But again, more times than not, it's Universal Music Group. And so for this and for them to pull out is a big deal. It's a super big deal because now it's led to a point where there's a lot of tracks all over TikTok that have no sound no more. It's literally just no audio. And so sometimes people are sitting there removing the audio and then they replace it with some silly ass royalty free shit, or they sit there and they just leave it blank. But now that I've set the stage, let me go and read the actual statement from UMG themselves. It's to give you a better idea why they decided to pull out. So UMG comes in hot with a hot title saying an open letter to the artist and songwriter community why we must call timeout on TikTok. And so it says, our core mission is simple: to help out artists and songwriters attain their greatest creative and commercial potential. To achieve these goals, our teams employ their expertise and passion to strike deals with partners all around the world, partners who take seriously their responsibilities to fairly compensate our artists and songwriters and treat the user experience with respect. Now, I'm just going to stop here for a quick second and say, oh, okay, that's a load of bullshit. All right. There's no universe. It's not a secret at all. All right. This is really well known that a majority of artists do not get paid well at all. Almost no one ever makes any type of compensation that is actually something that is livable. It's almost not, it doesn't exist. Maybe the record labels themselves get money and they get royalties and they get a substantial amount that is something that is meaningful, but more times than not, as an artist, you get paid pennies. The way that these artists actually really make their money is from when they go on tour, from when they do merchandise sales. That is where the bulk of the real money comes in. But from streaming services, no shot. This idea right here, or they're talking about, now don't get me wrong, I'm all for artists being paid fairly, right? But this narrative that they're trying to paint as if like, oh, TikTok is not going to pay fucking artists fairly, they're not going to compensate them correctly. What Universal means is that, hey, they're not going to get enough money for themselves. And so then they throw the artists as a little bonus to try and make the narrative sound even sweeter. Be like, hey, what about the artist guy? What about them? They need to get paid too, right? Even though we really want to get paid first, and then whatever scraps are left over, then we give it to the artist. That's what they're really trying to say. But for them to sit there and impose this narrative right off the bat saying to fairly compensate our artists and songwriters and treat the user experience with respect, that's a load of bullshit. If this statement had any truth behind it, then they would be fighting Apple Music and Spotify tooth and nail to try and pay out artists fairly, because currently as it stands, there is no fair payment. It is literally chump change. There is no real value to be made from the money that those services pay out. It's almost like, it's literally like, I know I keep saying it's like pocket change or chump change, but that's really what it is. You ask any artist and they'll tell you, you don't make that much money off streaming services. Like, unless you get, I guess, a fuckload of millions and millions of streams, then maybe you get something that's like somewhat substantial. But even then, it's not really anything to be like, oh my God, this is fucking wild, bro. No. It continues by saying one of those partners is TikTok, an increasingly influential platform, powerful technology, and a massive worldwide user base. As many other platforms with who we partner, TikTok's success as one of the world's largest social media platforms has been built in large part of the music created by our artists and songwriters, which is true. Its senior executives proudly state publicly that music is at the heart of the TikTok experience, and our analyst confirms that the majority of content on TikTok contains music more than any other major social platform. Again, this is actually all true. This isn't something that they're just spewing out their ass. If you've ever heard about TikTok or its origins when it was Songbite, and then just the fact of how long TikTok's been around and what it was always been known for, it was always known for dance trends or some type of trend that always plays with music. You go on TikTok right now, you scroll through your feed, you're going to be seeing so many things that involve music. Music is literally at the core of TikTok experience. Yes, you have everything else that still happens on there, but music does play a vital role to the platform. So Universal Music Group is correct on that front. This isn't, while I might give them a lot of shit for a lot of other things, they are correct on this. The terms of relationship with TikTok are set by contract, which expires January 31st, 2024. In our contract renewal discussions, we have been pressing them on 3 critical issues: appropriate compensation for our artists and songwriters. Hey, why don't you give out some numbers, dog? What here's, all right, I'm going like, I know I keep like harping on this, and the reason why I do is because I'm just so passionate about artists being treated fairly. Again, I'm a music artist myself. This is where I started, and I am very passionate about this field. When I see things like that, what do you mean compensate artists fairly? How are they not being compensated fairly right now? I mean, I already know personally myself, but what does a record label themselves think of as compensated fairly? And throw some numbers out there. Why don't you say something? Back it up instead of just doing these, oh, well, artists need to be compensated fairly. Back it up with some actual numbers, buddy. You know, to me, that's just a load of hot air. That's all it really is. Protecting human artists from the harmful effects of AI, which again, I agree, that's a pretty big deal. I don't really know what they're talking about in terms of what they view as harmful for artists and AI. I guess they're talking about the AI Drake song, the AI Weeknd song, having those songs go around the entire platform. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, and not actually having like actual action happen ahead of time, or things along that nature where maybe, I guess, artists who want to make AI generated songs using the Weeknd's voice or Drake's voice, making sure that TikTok pays out a revenue, a cut of royalty from that. I couldn't really tell you exactly what they're talking about, but if I had to take a guess, it's something along those lines. When they say harmful effects, is they're referring back to when all the AI songs that popped off last year were making their waves on TikTok, and TikTok didn't really do anything about it. So they say they've been working on these with other platform partners. They say, for example, our artist-centric initiative is designed to update streaming's remuneration model and better reward artists for the value they deliver to platforms. In the month since its inception, we're proud that the initiative has been received so positively and taken up by a range of partners, including the largest music platform in the world. We are also aggressively to embrace the promise of AI while fighting to ensure artists' rights and interests are protected now and far into the future. So it was pretty much what I was saying earlier, where they don't want artists' names and brands and images to be used willy-nilly, all within AI, and then like a platform like TikTok have nothing to be done about it unless the company itself goes out after them. In addition, we have engaged in a number of our platform partners to try and drive positive change for their users and by extension our artists by addressing online safety issues, and we recognize as the industry leader in focusing our music broader impact on health and wellness. I don't know what the fuck they're really talking about this. Again, this doesn't really mean much. A lot of these statements are things that sound, I guess, good on paper. Like, oh my God, Warner Music, Universal Music is doing so, they're trying to do so many great things for the artists. And on top of it, they're trying to do for the users who listen to their music too, which is all cool. But what are you trying to do? What does this have to do with your actual, like, I know they say it's part of their 3-part negotiation deal with TikTok that apparently wasn't met with them. But what is it? What real safety are you talking about? It just words. Now, the funniest part of this whole entire statement is right here. It says, with respect to the issue of the artist and songwriter compensation, TikTok proposed paying our artists and songwriters at a rate that is the fraction of a rate that similarly situated major social platforms pay, which again isn't a lot to begin with. Today is an indication of how little TikTok compensates artists and songwriters. Despite its massive and growing user base, rapidly rising advertising revenue, and increasing reliance on music-based content, TikTok accounts for only about 1% of our total revenue. So I get what they're saying here. More or less, they're saying, hey, we're making most of our money from all the other platforms, even though TikTok is the biggest platform and they rely on our music so much. They don't really account for almost any money that we actually make from that platform in terms of royalties. It's still all from other platforms. And so then they finish off by saying, ultimately, TikTok is trying to build a music-based business without paying fair value for the music. Now, whether or not people want to fight in tooth and nail these corporations, I don't really give a fuck. But to still sit there and act like whatever is already being paid out to artists right now is fair value is laughable. That is a fucking joke. It's not even close to fair value. It's man, I could go on all day and rant about this, but it's just so intriguing to sit there and see them say that and be like, oh, well, TikTok isn't paying fair value to compared to all the other streaming platforms, as if all the other streaming platforms are paying fair value to begin with. Now, would I like TikTok to at least match the other platforms? Sure, that would be fucking A-okay. I would love that. But are they going to do it? No shot, bro. I don't really see that happening. Or if they do come to an agreement, it's going to meet in the middle. That's more than likely will happen. So right here, they go into further detail saying on AI, TikTok is allowing a platform to be flooded with AI generated recordings, as well as developing tools to enable, promote, and encourage AI music creation on the platform itself, and then demanding a contractual right which would allow this content to massively dilute the royalty pool for human artists. And a move that is nothing short of sponsoring artist replacement by AI. Further, TikTok makes little effort to deal with the vast amount of content on this platform that infringe on other artists' music, and it offers no meaningful solutions to the rising tide of content adjacency issues, let alone the tidal wave of hate speech, bigotry, bullying, and harassment on the platform. The only means to seek the removal of infringing problematic content such as pornographic deepfakes of artists is through the monumentally cumbersome and inefficient process which equates to digital equivalent of whack-a-mole. Whew. Boy, I'm having trouble talking today. So I can see what they're talking about to some extent. This is what I guess they're talking about, the safety of users, and saying that TikTok isn't doing much for this. I don't really use TikTok enough to know if there's any real merit or meaning to this statement right there. But I'm going to be honest with you. What about Twitter, bro? What about all the other platforms? You going to sit there and pull from those because of all the shit that goes on those platforms? I don't think so. Again, I think that this is just another like a brownie point they're trying to lean in to try and make their negotiations sound better and hope that people go on their side. But man, this is any platform. I don't really know what TikTok's efforts are on this front, nor does it really matter in the case of what they're trying to really negotiate and what they're trying to argue for. If I had to be honest, it seemed like they're talking more about the artist's perspective and keeping artists safe with deepfakes and AI songs of artists, and that's really all they care about, not the actual users, as a statement at the beginning said. But that's just my interpretation. And then right here, they're talking about the same shit, talking about AI generated music, the shit that I talked about earlier. More or less, they're saying, hey, there's a certain amount of royalty money that is put to the side for music. And they're saying that now with TikTok trying to promote and encourage the use of AI music and AI tools and everything to make AI artists, they're like, hey, you're sitting there making the royalty pool that's already small and limited as it is for the artists. With TikTok trying to encourage the use of AI and AR artists, they're already now diluting that money even more. So instead of all the human artists, people who are actually organically making their music, now it's going to be shared with AI artists and people who are now using AI tools to make AI songs, such as Drake Heart on the Sleeve or The Weeknd and Drake song that came out last year. You know, the idea of songs like that being paid out versus the actual organic artist. So Universal Music Group is like, hey, it's fucked up. You're barely paying us any money as it is. And now on top of it, now you're encouraging the use of AI and you want to now pay out those artists. And now we're going to have even our artists make even less money, which means we make even less money, which is more or less the crux of their argument. And so the statement finishes off by saying, as our negotiations continue, TikTok attempted to bully us into accepting a deal worth less than our previous deal, far less than fair market value and not reflective of their exponential growth. How did they try to intimidate us? By selectively removing the music of certain of our development art. Oh my God, what is this? I thought I was going stupid trying to reread. I tried to reread this like 3 times already. While keeping on the platform our audience-driven, driving global stars. TikTok's tactics are obvious. Use its platform's power to hurt vulnerable artists and try to intimidate us into conceding to a bad deal that undervalues music and shortchange artists and songwriters as well as their fans. We will never do that. We'll always fight for our artists, blah, 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 blah. Pretty all corporate PR speak. And so, of course, TikTok had their own statement. It wasn't much. It was almost nothing at all. But they said, it's sad and disappointing that Universal Music Group has put their own greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters. Despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, the fact is they have chosen to walk away from the powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serve as free promotion and discovery vehicle for their talents. TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other label and publisher. Clearly, Universal's self-serving actions are not in the best interest of artists, songwriters, and fans. And so that's pretty much where it leads off. I don't think any record label, at least all the big ones, the actual big name brands, I don't think any of them have any real interest in the value of an artist or trying to make sure that they are treated fairly or in a way where it actually benefits them to a really, in my opinion, a beneficial amount. Most deals signed with record labels are always predatory. They're always made to try and fuck over the artist in some way, shape, or form. It's always going to be made in a way where they make the most money and the artist will make scraps. This whole narrative pushed as, oh, well, these companies aren't paying out, they're not paying out good money, and we're fighting a good fight for these artists. And I'm like, dog, no the fuck you're not. TikTok acts like there's some fucking saint as well too. No the fuck you're not. You just want to sit there and have the music on your platform for free without having to pay out anybody, and you sit there and you want to say that the free publicity and promotion of the songs that users use is good enough. That's a good enough payment. That's literally what their statement said. That's why they said, what about all the free promotional visibility that you get from our billion users who use our platform and use the music? To me, that doesn't mean shit. In life, the older you get, you realize that free publicity or free promotion for anything doesn't pay shit, and that is not an acceptable form of currency at all. Anyways, I have vented, talked about this topic long enough. I just wanted to cover this real quick because it's something I'm passionate about. I want to go over this statement and just give my own insight and my own thoughts onto this because I think it's a load of dog shit. Now, will TikTok and UMG ever reach an actual agreement? Probably. I think it will happen eventually. Will it happen today? Will it happen tomorrow? Probably not. It's already been 2 weeks and they still haven't come to an agreement. But will they eventually do it? Yes. But I think that this whole narrative that they push for both sides is kind of a load of dog shit. They don't have the best interest of the artist at all. It's the best interest of who can make the most money and not have to pay the most to the other person in return. But those are just my thoughts and opinions. Made this far into the video. Consider giving a like, subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment below what you think. Have a great day. Yeah.